I've heard on the street here and there in political circles that what you're doing is said to be divisive. Oh, you know, he's solving the problem and therefore he's being divisive. You care to address that? Or?
You know, I belong to an organization, co-chair of an organization called the House Republican Alliance, and that organization was formed about 15 years or so ago. And it started off with a hearty few individuals who had a very, very core principle, and that's what do our constitutions say about legislation, and what does our Republican Party platform say about legislation? And to some, that was a radical, divisive inquiry. I don't believe it was then. I don't believe it is now. To identify me as being divisive is just to, because I am head of an organization where that's been the line of the attack for the last 15 years. I'm hardly marginal. I've been parliamentarian at 2 state party conventions. I'm chairman of the Republican Party Platform Committee this term right now. I'm vice chairman of Granite State Taxpayer, which Mel Thompson founded about 20 years ago. I'm a mainstream guy. I'm mainstream in my views because our party platform is mainstream, our constitutions are mainstream.
So is it if you believe in principles, are there people saying, well, he believes in something and he'll stand by his principles and therefore he's divisive? Is that what the problem is?
Well, I'm not going to put words in people's mouths. I don't know where they come from. I do know that this has been a concern voiced by many over the years who didn't, within the legislature, who didn't like to be judged. You don't hear it coming from outside the legislature, and you hear it less and less frequently from the membership of the Republican caucus in the House, because increasingly people in the caucus believe that we ought to keep faith with those who put us up there. If we say we're running as a Republican, we ought to be attentive to what Republican principles are. 15 years ago when the organization, the House Republican Alliance, was formed, there was 4 or 5 individuals. This last time we could convince, if we took a position on legislation, we could usually convince 100 to 120 members of the Republican caucus to go along with us. That was out of 175 members. So we're mainstream at this point.
That's not very divisive. That sounds like it's bringing people together.
It sure is. It sure is.
And they call constitutionalists divisive these days. So.
Well, and that's actually the point I wanted to make. GraniteGrok is one of the co-founding members of the Tea Party coalition here in New Hampshire. And that stands for the main 2 goals is a more limited government, a less intrusive government, as well as less taxation. But certainly among all of the participants in the Tea Party and the 9/12 movement, there is a movement afoot to get government back to a constitutional basis. So GraniteGrok's been called divisive in the past for standing firm on conservative values. The only people who yell at us for being divisive are the progressives, the liberals, the Democrats. And I find it rather odd that other Republicans would be using that term in a derisive, pejorative manner on somebody who's standing firm on the New Hampshire Constitution, on the U.S. Constitution, and on general traditional values altogether, and on the NH GOP platform. Explain this a little bit more for me.
Well, you know, Skip, I've been going throughout the state, holding public hearings on the platform. I've been, in my run for the speakership, I've been going to county committee meetings. I've been going to meet and greets with candidates for the State House. And one of the things I've observed, and I'm telling people, is that the people that we're talking about, some call them Tea Party, I just call them regular Americans. They're not running towards the Republican Party. They're running away from the other party. They're running away from Democrats, but they're coming towards our party with traditional Republican ideals. They don't have faith in us because we haven't governed according to those ideals in the past, but they're coming to us with our ideals. We have to convince them that this is who we are by being that way. When we take over, we have a unique opportunity, but a unique risk too. The unique opportunity is to take that majority and govern according to conservative principles, but the risk is that we don't do it. And if we don't do it, it's going to be extremely bad for the state and for our party. That's the reason I'm running. I didn't see anyone else stepping forward and saying that we're going to govern, or I'm going to govern according to those ideals. I recognize that that's what the people want. I recognize that that's the reason why New Hampshire still has a strong Republican Party, because there's enough of us who remain faithful to it, and will have a strengthened Republican Party because people are generally conservatives. We have to govern as conservatives.